Square Enix haven't really been all that forthcoming with updates around the Final Fantasy VII Remake for a while now, but they've been extra quiet following their decision last May to take much of the development in-house as opposed to relying heavily on the third-party developer CyberConnect 2 as they had been previously. It meant that the big reveal that Tetsuya Nomura teased at the end of 2016, where he hinted at the Final Fantasy VII Remake making an appearance at a major trade show at some point during 2017, didn't ever happen, and instead we've had to rely on little morsels of information that have crept out from small places to keep us at least somewhat up to date with what exactly is happening with this project. Lest we forget that the Final Fantasy VII Remake was now revealed amongst the glitz and glamour of E3 almost 3 years ago, and although members of the team have actually talked about the project quite a lot in regards to their plans for the game's lore, including how they're going to retell the story of the game throughout a multi-part series, and their plans for the combat and how it will work, very little has actually been shown in regards to how the game will look and play in a more literal sense. Sure, we did receive a gameplay trailer at the PlayStation Experience back in 2015, but instead of answering questions, this just led to even more being asked. It led to Nomura then attempting to clarify the trailer further during an impromptu appearance at the Monaco Anime Gaming International Conference towards the start of 2017, where he showed off some screenshots from the fight against the Guard Scorpion. But let's face it, there's just so much about this project that we're still in the dark about. And it sounds like the veil of secrecy is very much being put in place for a good reason. The game is just in a massive state of flux, and they therefore don't want to put more stuff out into the public domain that could then invariably change. It also kind of seems like they're at odds with this approach internally, as Nomura, for example, also shared at that event in Monaco that he'd been wanting to show off some new footage, but that senior figures within the company were against him doing so. Now, I wasn't there, so he could easily have been just jesting about the fact he wanted to show off more than just screenshots, but with the news about them taking development internally coming out soon after, this did make a degree of sense. And what was just disclosed a few weeks ago following Nomura's appearance alongside Yoshinori Kitase, the producer on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Naoki Hamaguchi, the lead programmer on the project, this then makes even more sense. The three were conducting a talk at an exhibition in Tokyo called Final Fantasy Farewell Stories, which was put on to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the franchise. And it was here that Nomura shared the news that they had decided to change Cloud's design, as he wasn't happy with the one that they had previously shown off to the public. He revealed that the new design was more similar to how Cloud looked during his appearance in Advent Children, and then proceeded to show off new concept art for those lucky enough to be in attendance, noting that it was for their eyes only, as they wouldn't be revealing it to the public anytime soon. Hamaguchi then quipped that he was happy that they were finally able to get an okay from Nomura about proceeding with Cloud's design, and it sounded as though they'd been through quite a few different iterations until they found one that Nomura was actually satisfied with. At the same time, they also revealed that the supporting members of Avalanche that had previously appeared in that PlayStation Experience trailer had been given similar treatment, and they then proceeded to show off new visuals for Jessie, Biggs and Wedge, which was again not released to the public. Something they did release though as part of the art exhibition was new concept art for Jessie, Biggs and Wedge. These concepts were created by Roberto Ferrari, who you might also remember worked as one of the main concept artists on Final Fantasy XV, where he was responsible for the creation of characters like Arden Azunia, Cindy Arum and Iris Amicitia. And that all brings us onto our most recent update, which comes via a new job listing posted by Square Enix, which is for a level planner. Now, such things in themselves aren't exactly new, and after the CyberConnect 2 breakup, Square Enix posted an update on their Business Division 1 recruitment page where they posted uploaded job listings. At the time, Kitase, Nomura and Hamaguchi all offered inspirational thoughts for would-be candidates, and Nomura shared that recreating Final Fantasy VII in today's gaming landscape would require an extraordinary amount of time and resources, and given the changes, recruitment was therefore being treated with a degree of urgency. This new job listing doesn't contain anything like that, but it did feature an update on the current state of the project. According to Gamatsu's translation, it said, "We are examining programs that implement general functions and contents for the Final Fantasy VII Remake as necessary on the development team. And while we are reaching a satisfactory level in terms of reproducing the original title in high quality graphics, we have come to the conclusion that we should aim for even higher quality in order to meet the expectations of fans. That said, we will tackle the production of this big title by establishing core members of various positions such as level planner, battle planner, designer, engineer, etc., including existing members of the development team. Interested applications are expected to work as a core member. Now, outside of this specific update, there were some other important little nuggets of information found within the job listing. One is that they wanted to stress that this role isn't being posted up because they're struggling to cope with the volume of work because the project is reaching crunch time. Instead, they're looking to add members into a core leadership group to help push the project onto new levels because they aren't at crunch time yet. Second is that the listing also mentioned that they aren't shying away from people who have never played the original before. They appreciate that it released 20 years ago, so there are plenty of developers who have limited experience with Final Fantasy VII, and they're hoping that by looking for candidates without preconceived notions about what the game should be, it will help them come up with fresh ideas. Now, on the one hand, I see this as a pretty exciting little update. They're at the stage where they're comfortable with what they're producing, and they've made the active decision to raise the bar even higher to make sure that we, as fans, are satisfied with what they release, but also that we end up satisfied with their decision to basically make this remake. What's not to like about that? If they can produce a stunning game that goes down as one of the greatest of all time, I am completely down with that. And if they produce something that's well received, it will also help them make a case for remaking other titles, both internally but also with the fans, and they've been making motions that this is ultimately their end game. Yoshinori Kitase has stated that the team are keen to look at Final Fantasy VI after they've finished with the Final Fantasy VII remake, and has even talked about including some fan theories in a potential remake of Final Fantasy VIII. Nomura, on the other hand, has expressed an interest in remaking Final Fantasy V, and Takahashi Kitano, the director of Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Cage, also said that Square Enix would be likely to remake or remaster whatever game the fans are most vocal about. On the other hand though, it could also be considered a somewhat alarming update if you're someone who's concerned about when the Final Fantasy VII remake will actually release. Sure, it's great that they want to try and amp things up by adding this new core group, but you could argue that this should have been their objective from the start. Kitase shared in his update last year on the recruitment page that they're hoping to change the gaming scene yet again when they release the Final Fantasy VII remake. It was of course a general statement of ambition, but it was also a response to them moving away from what CyberConnect 2 had been producing previously. But now it seems as though they've realised again that what they've produced isn't going to meet that aim, and they're therefore looking to inject some new impetus into the project. We're almost 3 years after it was announced though. Sure, they won't have been working on it solidly during that time, and Kitase mentioned that they were entering into the development phase last year, but it makes me believe that any kind of release date in 2018 would be almost impossible now, even for the most optimistic amongst us. 2019, in my opinion, is also now looking quite unlikely, with 2020 looking to be a much safer bet. But honestly, who knows at this point? All we can do is keep up our levels of optimism and eat up any updates that come our way, no matter how big or small. I'm just hoping that the project isn't going down a dangerous path, where because of the pressure they're under to make it a legendary game in the eyes of almost everyone, they feel the need to keep iterating and improving to make sure it achieves that goal. This approach, while admirable, can be something of a curse, and while I'm somewhat reticent to make the comparison, especially as it was made with Final Fantasy Versus 13, this approach was one of the main reasons why games like Duke Nukem Forever take so long to release. They just keep being distracted by exciting new developments that they want to incorporate into their game, because they want it to be the best game ever made in every way possible. Either way, I do have to say it's somewhat pleasing that Square Enix are putting out little updates like this, as it does show the project is progressing. Who knows, they may even choose to make a big splash at one of the trade shows this year, but with Kingdom Hearts 3 very much on the horizon, they may also choose to hold fire and let that steal the limelight. But how do you guys feel about this update? Are you excited about Square Enix pumping more time and resources into making this game the best it possibly can be? Or are you concerned that by doing so, it's just going to push the release date back further and further? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this update, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Please also consider supporting us on Patreon. We've got a Patreon exclusive giveaway going on at the moment where you can win copies of Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition on PlayStation 4. All you have to do to enter is support us on Patreon. You can find out more information at patreon.com/FFUnion. And these guys you're seeing right now have taken the active decision to support us already, and they're automatically put in the draw. Alright guys, this is Daryl signing up. I'll see you next time for more Final Fantasy videos.